A NATO Secretary General says 22 countries, many of them members of the alliance, are ready to work together to secure the Strait of Hormuz.
I know the president was angry because he feels that European and other allies have been too slow. The good news here is that since Thursday, a group of 22 countries, most of them from NATO, but also Japan, Korea, Australia, New Zealand, the UAE and Bahrain, most of the other countries from NATO, coming together to implement his vision of making sure that the Strait of Hormuz is free, is opening up as soon as that is possible.
Strikes, rail and threatened on vessels have effectively closed off most traffic through that waterway. Although Iran's foreign minister has denied this, Abbas Araghchi maintaining only ships belonging to Iran's enemies have been denied passage, adding that Tehran was open to nations that coordinate, and that includes specifically Japan. Tokyo for now saying it was not thinking about appealing to Tehran for safe passage. Just last week, Tokyo announced the release of oil reserves. South Korea, on the other hand, has asked for safe passage. Foreign Minister Cho Hyun says he has also expressed deep concern about the impact of the Middle East conflict on the global economy in his talks with Abbas Araghchi. Will Denselow is covering this story for CNN. He joins us live from Brussels. Will, what more do we know about which 22 countries are ready to help step up and work together to secure safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz?
Well, as we heard there from NATO's Secretary General Mark Rutte, this is a broad coalition spanning much of the world, of course, including members from Southeast Asia. We heard from Mark Rutte naming the likes of Japan, South Korea, as well as Gulf powers, as well, of course, he said, as predominantly members of NATO, including many of which are right here in Europe. So very much a broad coalition included. Now, significantly, in his remarks over the weekend, he said there would be action as soon as possible and as soon as the time is right. Huge speculation now as to whether, with this announcement from President Trump on social media of this 5-day pause in strikes, whether that means that that time is now. We also heard from Friedrich Merz, the German Chancellor, late last week at a gathering of European leaders here in Brussels, where he said that as far as Germany is concerned, there wouldn't be action until the guns fell silent. So very interesting to see whether this pause in fighting, should it indeed come to pass, whether that would then engage the US's allies to take action to help secure the Strait of Hormuz. We've also heard from European Union officials, the European Commission spokesperson. This announcement from President Trump came during the midday briefing. They say they don't give updates to this kind of breaking news, but they did, however, say that any restraint is very much welcome.
Oh, well, we have heard Iran willing to negotiate with both India, Pakistan to secure safe passage for their vessels through the Strait of Hormuz. The fact that it's open now to Japan and South Korea, would that undermine their willingness to work with, say, NATO member countries for safe traffic through the Strait of Hormuz?
Well, we also know that Kaja Kallas, the EU's foreign affairs chief, has also spoken to Iran's foreign minister over the weekend. That was part of a grouping of calls that she made, including to allies like South Korea over the weekend as well as allies and Gulf partners. Now, we've heard a little bit more detail from the European Commission on these calls. He said essentially that any act of restraint is welcome and that these calls were all to keep channels open to try and find de-escalation. So as far as the European Union is concerned, any kind of talks, whether they're bilateral or through any kind of broader coalition, are very welcome, as long as it reaches these core objectives to reach a de-escalation, to an ease of tension, and for the hope that diplomacy can prevail and for international trade through this vital waterway of the Strait of Hormuz to begin to reopen. So at least the message we're hearing from European Union officials is that any kind of bilateral talks that might be successful in leading to de-escalation would be very welcome indeed.
Thanks. William Denselow there covering this story for CNA from Brussels.